Yemo and I have decided to fight crime together.
Let's clean up this city.
Craven's worst monster has entered a remarkable new phase of development.
No, naughty.
This monster needs a bride.
We've assembled about 90%, but we need the right head.
Laszlo!
FX is What We Do in the Shadows.
It's over!
Series finale, Monday at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Don't sing if you wanna live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world. You'll never get a second chance. Plan all your moves in advance. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead, stay dead and out of this world. Shadows lost, baby.
You're listening to League Podcast, Vampire Council, a What We Do in the Shadows podcast, Season 6, Episode 11, the finale. I'm Matt Dursin.
I'm Clay Ferno. Is this how we were talking through the whole thing?
Yes, it's a very special League podcast.
A very special episode.
Yes. No, that we don't have to do that. That would be weird if we talked that long. Besides, it would kind of go against the spirit of this show, I think. Right?
That's right. Yes.
This is the last episode, the finale of What We Do in the Shadows. And if you want, I mean, a spoiler warning here, right? If you were thinking, like it's gonna be like a moment at the end, you know, where it's like, you know, like you might not get that. like the end of Cheers. I don't know why I always think of the end of Cheers, right? Where Sam kind of looks around the bar and he's like, I'm the luckiest son of a bitch on earth, you know, and it's like a sad but just
close the light, turns the lights off.
Right, something. He turns the lights off and someone comes to the door and he says, we're closed. And that's like, it's like, the end of Cheers. If you're expecting that kind of an ending, well, we'll get to it, but there are different endings.
We'll get there.
Whatever ending you want.
Let's do preemptive, just not series related, but preempted before we talk about the story. Just like basically thumbs up, thumbs down. What did you think? You know, there's lots to talk about, which that's why we're doing the episode. But did you like it?
Right. Yeah,
basics. Did you like it?
Definitely thumbs up. How about you as well, right? Or what did you think? I don't know. Spoil. I assumed you did because you posted all about it on social media.
Well, yeah, I was trying to promote the old podcast here.
Well,
this episode, I guess specifically, but also, yeah, you know, of our lives. Yeah, it was right. It was definitely not what I expected, but in general, good.
Not what I expected, but I guess the show has been doing that for a while now, you know, subverting my expectations, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm definitely pleased. So, but I don't know. I wonder what other people would think, right? I mean, I guess
some people are saying it was boring and meh and whatever. It was fine. Yes, we would say it was fine.
Were people like the shippers, you know, when they talk about shippers, like Nandor and Guillermo shippers, were they gonna
like us? We're shippers. We're at the king of the shippers.
We're not shippers, are we?
We're shippers. We've been talking about their relationship the whole time.
I mean, we've been talking about it because we're reporting on the news. I don't think I wouldn't say I'm a shipper. Maybe
you're fair and balanced like that. You know, because that's
exactly.
This whole time you were talking about it, you're having no opinion about it.
No, I was having an opinion, but I'm not sitting here saying, "Boy, I really hope those two get together." You know, I mean, if it happened, it happened. I'm sure it would have been funny. That's not where they went. They decided not to go that way, and I'm okay with that too. As long as it's funny, I don't care. But I wouldn't say like I'm a shipper because I feel like there's a different connotation there. I don't know.
Well, I guess I'm a shipper, and we'll get there. Part of my shipper desire was fulfilled. So they even covered that.
All right. Well, that's good. Then that's what I was wondering, if people would be disappointed that they didn't end up like I said in our last episode, they were going to end up like, hooking up or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. We'll see. We'll see what people think, I guess. Should we just go into the episode itself? Well,
I will say, yes, we should, but I'll just say, like, also, like, when, and I said this to you before, like, every other podcast that we've ever done, no matter if it's this or Arbcast,
500 almost.
When you get to a finale, right? There's a finale, and lots of people talk about like the Sopranos finale, right? It's like a controversial finale, and this or that happens, or
right.
There's lots of ways things can go. But I also, when it gets to the finale, I think of the piece. I think of all of the Sopranos, and with the Nolan Batman movies. Like, I recognize that it's 3 separate movies, but I judge it as a piece. Snyderverse is a little bit different because the movies are all over the place, and there's different directors, and also even Snyder changed a lot of stuff. So I don't really view that as a piece. But like, perfect example, Nolan Batman movies, you can have your favorites, say that the first one was really good, or say like, oh, I didn't like the Dark Knight Rises or whatever, but it's one thing. And what we do in the Shadows, the TV show, also is one thing when it comes to the end. That's awesome.
I could definitely see that. I mean, yeah, like, especially in the way in the story, like the Nolan verse Batman, it's Batman Begins, Batman Middle, I don't know what you want to call the Dark Knight, and then the end, the third one. I mean, and it's the career of Batman, essentially, right? Like, in the third one, he's just hanging out. He has basically hung up his cowl. It's kind of like the Daniel Craig. Okay. It's like the Daniel Craig Bond, right? I don't know if you put those.
Daniel Craig Bond. Not necessarily any other Bonds, but definitely the Daniel Craig Bonds.
Because that was definitely the end. Like, that was it, So, and I mean, we have our opinions. Go and listen to our Daniel Craig Bond episodes if you want, especially No Time to Die. But, it was the end. So, yeah.
You can still not think that No Time to Die was that great and still be like, Daniel Craig was a good Bond. Those were, in general, pretty good stories.
Sure. They were definitely very good. And the last one, I think it was just like, it left me with a sour taste. But overall, yeah, I could see that is one story. The story of James Bond. Daniel Craig, first Casino Royale, gets his license to kill. He gets his music. And then in the last one, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen it, he dies. So,
his license to kill. Tina Turner.
So, but yeah, this is kind of the same, even though there's a theme running through this episode, which I really liked for the vampires, because they live forever. Nothing really ends. There is no end.
It doesn't in that.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So I liked that. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I'll just say it right now. So I was not a Office fan. Did you watch The Office? The American.
Yeah, and I'm not offended, but I'm a little surprised. Like, you've seen The Office, though, plenty.
Yeah, but I don't know how did it end. Like, I remember people speculating that, are we going to see the documentary? Right, that was like a big thing, right?
Oh, I'm not that big of a fan. We're probably both as big of a casual think positively about The Office without being like, oh, and there was that time that this happened.
No, I don't.
I like The Office. I don't know how it ended.
I don't either. But there was speculation, like, are we going to see the documentary, right? That was something people thought about when that show was ending. I remember it, even though I didn't watch it, and I didn't care if we saw the documentary or not. But, it's one of those shows. Same thing, like, I guess by the time Parks and Rec ended, people were kind of over the documentary thing, and they were just like, we're not going to see the end. And
Yeah, was that even the same format? I feel like that was just a sitcom.
it was, but they had kind of near the end, they had kind of abandoned a lot of the elements. They still had those like sit down, talk to the camera moments, but everything else was completely not camera. Like you would never see the camera people like you do
Yeah.
on What We Do in the Shadows. So
I guess I almost want to say maybe that's even because of the original Office and then the Office US, and then it goes to Parks and Rec. That's almost like an evolution. That's almost a different kind of show. Mockumentary that strips out the trappings of the documentary, and then it's like a hybrid between just a regular sitcom and kind of some mockumentary.
a regular sitcom where they talk to the camera. That's basically, but
Yeah, that's like part of
right.
that's part of sitcoms now.
Yeah, exactly. But this is completely like this is different than that because they actually do, like, first of all, they show the cameras and especially this season, they've been really like doing it a lot. And they say, oh, yep, we've got enough footage. That's it. And I love how they do it. I mean, I suppose we'll get there, or do you want to just talk about it now?
Why don't we, since we're doing the finale episode, why don't we just put a pin in that and get there? We'll just start and go through it sort of scene by scene like we do, because that scene is very close to the beginning anyways. It's before the song and everything.
Well, it starts off with the monster is horny. It's just Laszlo and Colin Robinson and the monster, and they're saying he's horny. Yeah, that's what Colin Robinson keeps saying. He's chasing around Nadja. He's chasing around Colin Robinson. He's chasing the doll. Like he just wants to have sex with everything.
And if I don't, sometimes I take benefit from my bad hearing because I'll watch this with my nice headphones on that are noise canceling, and I can hear the real good audio mix. So yeah, they're kind of narrating that he's horny and we're gonna build him a bride, and you see him chase Nadja, and she's like, "No, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here." And Colin's like, "No, buddy, like stop it." And then you see him like. It's like all like it's like a long shot down the hallway. You see Nadja doll like walking slowly, and she's like, no, like cut it out. And then she goes like, the doll, not Nadja. Nadja doll goes, okay, make it quick.
You're right. I didn't even hear that because I didn't watch it with super good headphones. I just watched it at normal.
It would just be background noise if you just watching it on your TV in your living room. But she's like, okay, make it quick.
Oh. So one of my favorite lines as Colin and Laszlo are talking to the camera about this, and the monster's sitting there, and apparently he starts whacking off. He's not even in the Jack Shack. He's right there. And Laszlo says, "Oh, keep it in the 2 shot." That was a great line.
Yeah, and then he's like, he's got his hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah, and he like whacks him, and Colin Robinson sprays him like you would a cat that's like doing something. He sprays him with this thing of water.
That was so funny. And then like kind of ends with focusing on Colin. He goes, "He's horny.
He's horny." Yep, he's horny. Yeah, and then we get the song and whatever, and we come back, and so this is like a quick callback to last episode where Nandor is trying to, get his crime fighting. Him and Guillermo are going to be crime fighters. And apparently his idea is that Guillermo will be the cowboy kid. And he's got...
Yes, that's right. And so remember I was like pleading the fifth at the end of the last episode. I was like, I watched the trailer. I shouldn't have.
Right.
Because I saw that. I saw them in their costume. And I was like, oh, this is going to be like definitely what they're doing. But
right.
Those are the conclusions I drew from just watching the trailer, which were all of my theories from watching the trailer were totally unfounded. And so it's either I'm dumb or they definitely had clever misdirection because they made it seem like that was happening. Like that was like full on happening.
Well, I think that's clever misdirection. I'm not going to say you're dumb, but I think, they wanted to give a nice little, like, just a taste of what's coming up.
Yeah, so Guillermo is the cowboy kid, which is very much a Robin costume, but it's Western
with like a hat.
And yeah, like the first Marvel comic was, besides like the one with the Human Torch in it, was like the Rawhide Kid was like a very early like Marvel comic.
And the Two Gun Kid, I remember.
Yeah, and the Two Gun Kid too. And Guillermo kind of comes out and he's like got these yellow tights on. He's like, I don't think people are gonna be scared of Kate the Cowboy. And then he's like, and they're like, what's your name? And Nandor goes, I'm the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And he has like he doesn't look like Batman, but he doesn't not look like Batman. He's like Batman with the top hat, and they both have domino masks on, and he's kind of like the Stranger, or like, you know, like launching
or like the Shadow.
Yeah, the Shadow. And Guillermo's just kind of like, no, the Phantom Menace is taken.
That's taken. Yeah, so he's got plans, and so and I love this because I didn't even really notice this, but apparently a few pauses because he wants to build a secret underground layer.
Oh, I paused it.
Okay, because he wants it, and the only thing I saw was supercomputer with a D.
Okay, yeah. So I went and paused it before we recorded, everything is like spelled like dumb in a Nandor way. Like people is Peopol, and then and there's actually a nice drawing of the house, and then it's like he wants to build this like some sort of crazy contraption like with his coffin that goes down into his bat cave. And he's like, need to test with people, like spelt all stupid. But in the picture of the house is like a drawing, and one of the rooms upstairs has Laszlo sitting at a piano, and in the room next door, Nadja is like in her coffin, and there's probably other like little kind of Easter egg things there. And then I looked at the supercomputer, and it said must have lots of screens to see lots of crimes, and then it pointed to the keyboard. It's like, this is for ticky tack tack, and it was just like a bunch of fun stuff. Yeah.
The only other thing I guess I read about was that it must be big, like the way Nandor would say big.
Yeah, like BEG or something. Yeah,
it must be big. But yeah, so that's the important part though. Underground layer is 1,000 feet underground, and the way you get there is you go in his coffin, and there's a switch that will take him all the way down. And obviously, Guillermo's like, this is not like, how do you plan on doing this?
Yeah.
And he's like, do you need a layer? That's kind of what he said. He's like, do we need a layer?
Yeah, when he's showing him the blueprints, like Guillermo's just kind of like yesing, and they're like, yeah, that seems really cool. Like he always does with Nandor.
Yeah, knowing that this is impossible.
That's the dumbest thing ever, you know?
As they're sitting down and talking about being crime fighters, I like if he has this idea, like Nandor says, no, it will be an equal partnership. Guillermo's like, okay. And he's like, well, unless I'm busy, and then you will have to do more. He's like, you do stuff and I do stuff. Unless I'm busy, and then you will do some of my stuff. And Guillermo's like, there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Anyways, we go back to the monster, and apparently, so he wants for his bride, which they are putting together, but they need a head, just like they did with him.
Yeah, and they have like a big tank where that's where the monster was created, in this like big, huge tank, and it's like just a torso, but it has like a bra on.
Yeah, I know.
And you can see her butt, but it's really funny because Colin is like shaking like fish flakes into the thing.
Well, I think he did that when the monster was in there too, right? He just put like fish food into the
And then I have to go back to the last episode and Vampire Council to talk about our podcast instead of this episode, but certainly this scene. So last episode where I pled the fifth because I watched the trailer, I knew about the bride thing too.
Okay.
I was thinking, and I didn't say it because I pled the fifth, but I was thinking when Nadja came back from Cannon Capital and she had Lisa's head this full time, I figured they're building bride. She has head. It's going to be Lisa as the head to the bride. So that's why I couldn't even say that last time. But I was thinking that going into the episode.
Well, yeah, they didn't go that route. But yeah, they apparently he's got a thing for the bride, and also so they said, so we're wondering, but so does Nandor. So we're wondering if maybe Nandor wouldn't mind if she would donate her head. And like Colin whispers, oh, and her boobs. Like
yeah, and then they cut to a scene where like the monster like took his penis off and is like handing it to the guy, and she's like, oh, thank you, like a little kid's like giving you like their cookie they just ate, like you get out. So
again, they also say again, it's like, oh, he's taking up his penis and giving it to her again. And I think Laszlo said something like, they say romance is dead. Handing her his penis. And they digitize it, like, like it's got a, like, as they are talking now, they're both, Nadja and Nandor are in the 2-shot, and Colin and Laszlo are in a 2-shot, and they both, they cut back and forth, and they both just they get, like, sort of someone off screen is talking to them. You don't really hear what they say, and they go, oh, okay, and they just take off their mics.
If you wear super hearing headphones, like say, okay, I think we got enough, is what they say.
That's all they say. Oh, nice. But I mean, you get the gist, because they just get up, they take off their lav mics, and that's it. They leave. And Guillermo's like, what's going on? Like,
yeah, Colin's like, have a good one.
Yeah. And yeah, so the documentary's ending. So they go in, they're all just reading their books. They're like just like they do in a lot of the episodes. And Guillermo's like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, they have enough footage after 6 years and the documentary is ending. And he's like, what do you mean it's ending? Like, Guillermo is freaked out. He doesn't know what to make of this. And meanwhile, as they're all sort of talking, Laszlo does go up next to the guy and has like a saw. It's like a table saw or something. He's like going right near her head.
That's his head taking off saw, because he did that to it's like a portable one, and it's like a red like sawzall kind of thing, like a table saw. Yeah. And that's the one he was carrying around with him in the car when he was going out.
Ah, good memory.
Same saw. Well, it's the same one. So,
but then she turns and looks at him. He's like he's not doing anything.
I think Nadja goes like, not now. Laszlo. Yeah.
So they're all like, Guillermo's freaking out, and he's like, that's it? You're just going to leave? I'd say anything. And Nandor says, well, they're here for a couple more hours to get some B-rolls. And meanwhile, he wants like, he's like, get me reading this big book.
Yeah.
So they're like, they keep telling Guillermo to dance and sing his feelings. Like, I don't know what.
Go ahead. Why don't you dance a little dance? Do a little gig.
And he's like, don't you guys care, like, that this chapter is ending? And they're like, eh. And there's my cat. She's also going, meh. Nandor and Nadja sort of go to discuss his emotions, because Nadja thinks, because she knows about human psychology from her days at Canon Capital.
That's right.
And she's like, she tells Nandor that he should talk to him. And we get one final.
Yeah, this is the only important, like, we're vampires, we're going to live forever, but this is the biggest thing that's ever going to happen in his life. And they did mention 16 years is what they say, because at the beginning of What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, it opens on Guillermo on his like 10th anniversary of being with the vampires, being Nandor's familiar, and then there's the 6 years of the show.
We've been following them. Yeah. But it's funny, though, because Nandor says, I'm sure something interesting will happen to Guillermo eventually.
And then he like picks up a candle and he's like stands on the stairs and like looks at the camera, because like, is this anything? He's like looking for B-roll shots, going up to paintings and standing next to her. She's like, pay attention.
Yeah. So she tells him he's got to go talk to Nandor. I mean, talk to Guillermo. And he says, fine, I'll fix something. He said, was it not? I'll fix it. I will fix. That's what he said. That's sort of a Nandor line. I will fix. So yeah, when they come back, Colin Robinson is sort of trying to console him with these lame sort of like platitudes like you would see on like a doormat or something. And
Yeah, like Guillermo's like in his room, and I guess I don't know whose room he's in. He's not under the stairs.
no, he's not under the stairs. Yeah, he's just in a
Or
room.
he's in his room, and Colin keeps doing this thing where he like knocks on the door like once. Yeah, just don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. And Guillermo's like, yeah, I think I saw that on a mug once. And then he goes, okay, and out the door, and then he knocks it.
Yeah, he gives like one knock. Yeah, and he comes back again, and meanwhile Nandor's trying to talk to him, and he's like, he comes back and he quotes Saint Elmo's fire, which is just like so.
Yeah, I have all three of them. He was like, and so Nandor starts to talk to him, but Nandor comes in and he has his plunger from Canton Capital, and he's like holding it, like pointing it at Guillermo as he's talking, and he's like, oh, you got to understand, Guillermo, like things change, things end. And then he's like, my favorite color used to be red, now it's orange. And then Colin comes in again. He's like, it's not the number of breaths we take, it's the number of moments that take our breath away. Guillermo's just kind of like, yeah, like, get out of here. And the other one's like so annoyed, like, get out of here, Colin.
And he's like, I'm trying to talk here. But yeah, he always does like the okay. And he knocks on the door. It's really fun.
And then Nandor's like, one time I stared at a train for 3 hours, but it turned out that it was a flatbed truck filled with porta potties.
Yes. You thought it was a departing train, and it was. It is hilarious though. And I do love this like bit that like the vampires live forever. There's change is not really the same for them, like it's like in a way Nadja was right, it's pretty hilarious. So yeah, like, and then Colin Robinson comes in and says, hey, Guillermo, are you Irish? He's like, no. Oh good, then you probably haven't heard this one. And it's that like, may the road always rise to meet you. I don't know that one.
May the wind be at your back. Yeah. No,
he says, fuck, I always screw this one.
Guillermo is not Irish.
No, obviously he's not Irish.
But he goes like, Guillermo, are you Irish? He's like, no.
Yeah.
Then you haven't heard this one. May the wind be at your back.
Yeah. So then they call a house meeting, which is a great callback to the movie as well, because they had a house meeting in the movie.
That's right.
And also on the, and it's the same thing. Make sure you finish your whole victim before moving on to the next one. But I remember in the movie, Taika Waititi was saying like, hey, the dishes are piling up and stuff.
I watched that scene before we recorded too. Because I was wondering if Nandor or the show quoted the movie, because when he goes, I want to talk about general hygiene in the cell, I was like, oh, is that exactly what they say in the movie? They don't say that in the movie, but I thought they did. But he does say it in episode 1, because I watched episode 1 and 2 before all of this, because there's other callbacks and things we've forgotten about from beginning,
I'm
but
sure
also things that the story continued to do, which is kind of the whole point of this finale anyways. But yeah, he's like, we have to talk about general hygiene in the cell, and then Laszlo's like, stick it up your asshole.
And I love like Laszlo starts to sort of quote like Shakespeare and stuff, and I love the guide's like, yeah, that's very deep.
He's like, to be or not to be.
Yeah.
And then the quote about actors being like a shadow upon the stage.
Yeah.
Never to be heard from again,
Yeah, it's really funny, yeah.
And he keeps saying, oh, I just came up with it. And the guy goes, very, very good.
But the idea is like Guillermo just like they're wondering why he's so upset by this. And one of the things I like about the guide, she says, I saw you stealing Pringles from the documentarian's table. Like maybe he's afraid he won't be able to get any more food.
Yeah, steal any more food. Yeah.
A little can of Pringles. I love it. Can of Pringles.
And then Guillermo's kind of like, it's not stealing, you know. And then he's like, then I saw him one day pick up as many Tic Tacs as would fit in his hands. And he's like, that's not true.
And meanwhile, Colin Robinson thinks he's sad that the documentary's ending because he's fucking Nate the boom guy or whatever. And he's like, oh, it's Gerald, the guy who looks like Nandor. Like, and then they cut over to the guy who he's just got long hair and like a beard, and he's like, it's like he doesn't look like.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not having any affairs with the crew. Yeah, basically, you know.
Yeah, but I thought it was funny because, well, what would Nate think about the whole point of it here is that they say, don't worry, there'll be a new documentary soon. And Guillermo's like, I highly doubt that. And he's like, no, this wasn't even the first one. They had another one.
Yeah, then they show them like loading up like a Super 8 like film reel, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's classic with the screen. I used to do that in my old job. Like,
Ultimate Dursin.
And they show this old documentary, and Jerry's there, and he's all mad that they're not taking over the world.
Well, yeah, because it's the same thing in the house meeting. He goes,
yeah,
house meeting. I need to talk about the cell's hygiene. Yeah. You finish the first victim before have a new one.
And if they're like, he's like, well, I wouldn't have to keep saying it if people would do it.
Hey, yeah, and then like a classic Laszlo, he goes, very good, thank you.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. And then, so there's a quote from Nandor in the paper, Nandor the dentist, or whatever it says, I forget.
Nandor Lee the dentist.
The dentist. Which is a callback to that episode where he was on the news, in the newspaper, or not on the news.
Nandor the Laurentis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said something about, I haven't seen a flood like this since 1852 or something like that. So they get all like nervous that they have to flee, or, you know, they get your disguises. And I love it. We get a callback to Jackie Daytona.
Yeah, well, first Nadja like punches through a painting and she has a go bag in there, and Colin turns around and he opens up like a chest and he pulls out the crossbow and he like shoots himself in the foot like he did when he was all fat and he like was trying to shoot at Jerry when Jerry woke from a super slumber.
Yeah, and he was in that little scooter thing.
Yeah, and then in comes Laszlo with the toothpick in his mouth, and they go, "Oh my God, who is this guy?"
And he's like,
and he does the whole thing. I'm Jackie Daytona from Arizona, and all of them don't recognize him. Yeah. Like, who is this handsome man? Is he coming to kill us?
And he takes out the toothpick and he's like, "It's me," and they're like, "Oh." He does also grab his witch hat. He's like, we gotta go. And he's like, oh, if she thinks I'm gonna leave without this, that's some bullshit or something like that.
Oh yeah, and before they start to panic, Jerry goes, or maybe it's right at the end here, I forget, but Jerry is like, he's like, any new business? And to Nandor at the meeting, Jerry's like, extremely old business. Are we going to be taking over the North America? And he's like, what? Everybody's like, we have part of Ashley Street, which is a callback to what they were saying. And that goes all the way back to episode 1. They also said, well, we went to take over the world, but we have part of Ashley Street. That's just a running gag that I didn't really pick up on this season.
And then Jerry's
like, I'm going to go to my super slumber.
I'm going to take a super slumber. Like, oh, he was always, even back then, he was always talking about super slumber. So yeah, then like, you know, there's kind of an explosion and then the film just kind of breaks or whatever. And that's kind of the end of the documentary. And they're like, yep, you know, and they just don't care because, you know, whatever, they live forever. So they're trying to convince.
Yeah, Guillermo's like, so I guess a lot of stuff that happened when I was around has been happening to you guys for a while.
Yeah, it happened before. And so finally, like, Nadja says, okay, look, let me talk to you about this, you know. And then she just screams at him in her primal scream, it's over.
And then
No.
in like therapist speak, she goes,
Yeah.
"Are you receiving that? Are you receiving my input that I'm giving you? Are you receiving that?"
So basically, Guillermo feels like there needs to be an ending. And I love the monster even says, closure. He needs closure.
Viewers need emotional closure or something like that.
So she's like, I love it. The guy says, why don't we turn him into a vampire? And Nando says, well, he did that last year. It's like,
And he's like, it was a real waste of time.
yeah.
It's a pain in the ass. And Nadja says, like, we should have stopped filming there. Perfect out.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Great out. Yeah. They want to kind of, and like, so everyone's going to get up and maybe say their thing. The guide gets up and she starts talking about, like, we're all immigrants and everything like that. And then she says, but now the immigrants, so she gets kind of like political with her. She's like, but the immigrants are starting to take over. And they're like, okay, we don't have to.
Yeah, Guillermo's like, let's stop there. And then when she sits down, she says, Magfa. Make America great again for vampires. Guillermo's like, cut.
Cut that out. Yeah. So this is the part where it gets a little crazy. So Nadja says, okay, why don't I just hypnotize everyone who's watching to see whatever they want? And he's like, you could do that? And she's like,
right,
yep.
like if you're watching this, I'm gonna hypnotize you, and you, the viewer, you're gonna see the ending that you want to see.
Right. So she's like, oh, attention, viewer. And she does her brain scramblies. Now, I watched it on TV, FX.
Yes.
And I was shown The Usual Suspects ending. I don't know.
Wait, interesting. Because when I watched it on Hulu before, I sent you the text to tell you that there's others endings.
Yeah.
I saw the sitcom ending with
the Newhart ending, right?
The Newhart ending.
Yeah.
And I consider that, because I saw it that way, that was the canon button in the episode, and that's what I thought that you were going to say you saw. But I did not know that they brain scrambled it up like that. Interesting.
They did. They brain scrambled it up, because I actually still haven't seen the Newhart ending. I've seen the other one. I know. I read about it.
Well, why don't we do this, and we'll edit the podcast later. Why don't you watch it right now?
Well, where is it? I mean, I can't even find it. I mean, where is it?
On Hulu?
I looked on Hulu. I couldn't find it.
Can you look at Hulu on your computer?
Yeah, but I couldn't find it. I tried this.
I'll tell you where it is.
20 minutes ago, or
it says
like an hour ago.
When I see it, it says episodes, and then it says next to episodes, extra hypnosis features. If you go to like the main What We Do in the Shadows page, we can even do a watch.
I'll do it. A watch along.
Yeah, we'll do a watch along.
Sorry.
No, we're gonna see if we can watch it together, because I don't think we should watch it if we haven't seen it.
This commercial right now. Okay, so you want me to click on extra hypnosis feature, and there was one window here.
There's one video.
I'll play it right now. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Here we go.
You tell me what you see, because it's probably serving you the Newhart.
Okay. Well, the first thing I see is Nadja telling me, right. So she says, you will see a different ending. And they play The Usual Suspects one. And, I'm going to skip over a little bit because I've seen it.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that.
Okay. So, yeah, Usual Suspects one happens.
Yeah. It's coming.
Okay.
He's walking down the street. He's getting in the car here. The jalopy.
Yeah, it's so funny.
My beloved jalopy. Greatest trick. It's over. It's all over. Now Nadja.
Is she walking down the hallway?
Well, first she does the bit. Yeah. Now she's walking down the hallway.
Also, I didn't see this until today, this one.
This is the Rosemary's Baby one.
Yeah. Did you see
We
this?
saw this. I watched it last night when you told me that there were other endings.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen this.
So you haven't. And does your thing end in 40 seconds? Does your thing end after this? It looks like.
It's got 2 minutes left.
Yeah. So okay, then.
Is there another one after this?
Yeah, there's a whole other one.
Okay. Here's the demon baby.
So we can
Colin
both
Robinson's
talk
like,
about
"Eh."
those two.
But I still haven't seen the
Well, let's see if we can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, I tried. I couldn't find it.
So interesting.
Yeah, I cannot find that.
Let me see if it's on Reddit. Okay.
This one is elusive.
Okay, so back to the pod. So
Back
we
to
just went. We just went. Both ourselves went onto Hulu and tried to find the version,
these things. Yeah.
all the endings. So apparently there is one that we do not share. One that I have only seen of the two of us. Yeah, but you maybe saw somebody post about it and you know about it. You know about the Newhart ending.
I read about the Newhart ending, but I have not seen it.
You know the Newhart ending prime.
Right.
You know what it is, right?
I know. Yeah. And I saw like stills. So I guess I figured.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
figured-
So yeah, basically you've seen it because the stills are just Nandor wakes up and Nandor goes, baby. And he's talking in a almost like a very, like, I'm sure for him, it's his American accent. You know what I mean? Like it's the actor's American accent. He doesn't have, it's like a
Kayvon's American.
It's K-Bond's American. Well, we did like Richard Nixon or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
But it sounds weird because you expect him to talk like Nandor, but he goes, baby, wake up. And he's like, wow, that was really strange. and then that it's Guillermo in the bed, and he turns around, Guillermo's in his silk pajamas, and he goes, oh, what is it, Nandor? And he goes, I just had a dream where we were living in this house and there was like a really old British guy and he talked all fancy. And then he was married to a lady from Greece. Then there was a guy who was just really boring. And we all had a lot of sex with each other. And it was just all very real. It was all very, really strange. And I'm just recapping it and you'll see it. And that's exactly what he said. And then
I really want to see it. Yeah.
And then Guillermo goes, well, that settles it. No more Japanese food before bed. And then he kisses Nandor, like kind of on the cheek, like kisses him good night. And then he turns over and they both have light switches next to their bed. And Guillermo turns off his light switch and it goes down. And then they show the Newhart font, but it says what we do in the shadows. That's it. So he just says basically that was really weird. They're both in silk pajamas in their bed.
Well, I don't know if do you remember? Do you remember the Newhart ending? Do you remember the?
I guarantee you I watched it, but I don't remember it.
So for anybody who maybe is, under 40 or 45 even, I mean, this was like
right.
the 80s. So the deal is there was the Bob Newhart show and then there was Newhart, and Newhart, he ran an inn. And of course, maybe people remember Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. Do you that was a big thing on the show?
Of course I know. I watched it.
Right.
For those out there.
Yeah. For those out there who maybe didn't watch it. And he had he had a wife and a daughter.
He ran an inn in Vermont or something. Yeah.
And so at one point, I think he got hit in the head because he sold the inn to a bunch of people who turned into a country club or something. And he got hit with a golf ball. And then he woke up and he did just what they did on What We Do in the Shadows. And he's like, there were these three woodsmen. Only one of them talked and whatever. He basically talked about all the characters in the show. And then the person who is sleeping next to him is his wife from the first show.
From the Bob Newhart show, not Newhart.
Show. Right.
Yeah, they wake up in their Manhattan apartment
Right.
where they filmed that whole show. Yeah, like so the whole thing was
It was all a dream. It literally, it was just a dream. Like the entire run of Newhart was a dream that Bob Newhart from the Bob Newhart show. And the wife is like, go back to bed, Bob, or whatever.
Yeah. And it was funny because Guillermo was like, no more Japanese food before bed. But they are, a married couple, like in the bed together. Right. And one thing I gotta say, I have a gripe with, not with Newhart and not with What We Do in the Shadows, but my gripe is with, spoiler warning, Super Mario 2. I just did that, and I was doing the actor Sean Ronaldo, auntie whose name I can't say his last name, did a Trump show with Trump versus Bernie debate. I did it live. I'm doing like his version of Trump. My gripe is with Super Mario 2. Super Mario 2 is a fucking dream at the end, and it's so mad. I hate that ending for a video game so bad. I'm not even a video game guy. That makes me so mad. But Newhart and What We Do in the Shadows, great. Boom.
Well, because they did the Clue thing. You know what I mean? Like one of our favorite movies, or one of my favorite movies. I think I could say it's probably one of your favorite movies. But the Clue.
It is definitely one of my favorite movies. And I'm surprised we have not yet done it. Maybe 2025 we're doing that for.
Yeah. I mean, that would be fun. It was a great movie. So, so this was one ending. But I mean, I kind of want to, I wish I could go back in time and see it. Obviously there was no internet, but I wonder how people's reaction was to that. You know what I mean? Like, there were no message boards to go on to and complain, but I do think people were like, oh, dream,
Yeah, there was definitely like magazine, or I remember people talked about it.
Yeah. I mean, they talked about it, but whatever. I mean, people get very sensitive about their show finales. So, and I wonder what people thought of that one. I bet people were complaining.
Not ChatGPT. Gemini says the initial reaction to the end of Newhart was generally positive, with some calling it a genius idea.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually, this is pretty interesting. It was his wife Ginny's idea. Oh. And they said it was pure genius. It was a surprise. It was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And it has held up for other shows. Oh, and you know what?
Obviously,
I'm looking at the still from it, and they are wearing like the same pajamas, and the set is exactly the same. And I turned to Stacey, I was like, why do each side of the bed has a little wall, like a shelf behind the bed where the headboard would be, but there's like a bookshelf back there. And each side, instead of like turning off the lamp, they have a light switch. So like husband and wife both have a light switch. They rebuilt the thing exactly, all the same blankets and everything. So it's really pretty genius. And it's really good.
Great.
That's the one that I saw, and that's the one when we were talking about shipping earlier. I assumed you had seen that one too, as part of it, just in the sequence.
Oh, damn. No, I had not seen that one. I still have not seen it, but I know what happened because I remember Newhart. But I saw The Usual Suspects ending, which was also done like almost shot for shot, although like different stuff, which I love. Okay, I know we're not supposed to like Kevin Spacey anymore, right? But I love that movie. I can't help it. I love that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie, and
it's so good.
I'm usually like can't separate the art from the artist, but I loved what's the show where he's the president on Netflix?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I like him. I mean, I love American Beauty. I love
House of Cards.
House of Cards.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, he's been as much of that he's a scumbag. He's been in great stuff, and he's a great actor. It's hard. Superman trailer came out today. He's a really good Lex Luthor.
He was Lex Luthor. That's right. It's hard to be like, oh, I'm never gonna watch these movies or whatever again, because like whatever, you just in that case, I have to make an exception. I'm not gonna support him or whatever, but I can't not watch Usual Suspects.
There's more to Usual Suspects than that one actor, right? It's a great movie.
Well, he won
It's
the
good
award for it too. But yeah, it is a good movie, and it is one of the best endings you'll ever see. So I was so glad that they aped that one. So yeah, it's I love it because Colin Robinson is the Kevin Spacey character, Verbal Kint, who also Kaiser Soze, but and I love the guide is the Chaz Palminteri character, and her hair looks amazing. Like it kind of looks like his. And Sean is the Daniel Hedaya character, who's like the chief or whatever, and like it's perfect. It's almost exactly the same. Colin Robinson walks out.
There was the montage of, do you remember, earlier in the season, of Vampire Council, we talked about Colin Robinson's coolness board. He had like one of those boards, and it's like you can see where people are ranking in the house from hot or not or whatever. And they had one of those things, and like that's a thing that like that's great for like people like us that are like gonna watch it and like pause it. There's all these things. There's like the Nadja nightclub that they reference, and like there's like takeout menus and stuff, and like all the stuff about Jackie. There's too much to even like break down. You let a board
Jack Daytona.
Right. Substack spoke of everything that's referenced on there, and they definitely talk about Nadja's nightclub and everything.
Yeah, and no, there's so many references, and there's a great. It's very quiet. I heard this even without your headphones, but as Colin Robinson's walking out, he's just fucking cops, which is what Kevin Spacey says as he's walking out the door. But he says it because he's sad, he's mad, like that, like they don't get it, and he just goes, "Fucking cops," and then he just walks out. And of course, so he goes, and this is a scene in Usual Suspects as well. He's getting all his stuff, and it's the monster is the guy handing him the stuff. Like he's like, here's one, it's like one locket that has the picture of Charmaine in it. Later, he opens it up.
Oh, you know what? I didn't know that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and it's Andy Asaf, whatever his name is.
The picture in the locket is Evie.
Oh, it's not Charmaine is Sean's wife. I'm sorry, I got them mixed up.
Yeah, but right. Evie, the energy vampire, his girlfriend, which is for some reason I thought Colin Robinson came in like later in the series, because we started doing this in season 3 or something, right? I was like, energy vampires is new, but no, it's right in the first two. First one and two.
There the whole time.
And Evie, Vanessa Bayer, she's so hilarious in that.
So funny, yeah.
Totally sidebar, but I fell asleep watching the first couple episodes after the finale was, and I had like kind of a nightmare as I fell asleep on the couch. And in the nightmare, this is really happened. In the nightmare, well, it didn't really happen, but it happened in my dream. Colin Robinson gave me a hug, and I have sleep apnea. He gave me a hug, and I like woke up because I was like, Colin, stop. I might have even yelled like, Colin, stop, because he was giving me a hug and feeding off of me. And I woke up like freaked out because I thought Colin Robinson was zapping all the energy out of me, but it was just because I have sleep apnea. And I totally am obsessed with What We Do in the Shadows. Isn't that crazy? I like had to like walk around my apartment for a little while and then like go to bed and put my stupid mask on. It was I was like, well, I'm really into this show.
That is classic. But yeah, so he walks out just same way Kevin Spacey does. He's kind of limping, and then he straightens out and whatever. And then
why does he limp? It's been a while since I've seen Usual Suspect. He's limping for a reason or something. I don't know.
I mean, that's his character, but it's all like a ruse. It's also people don't expect that he's the mastermind. Like
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But I mean, yeah, they just call him the Gimp the entire time, but he's really like not. He's the criminal mastermind. He's Kaiser Soze. So it's so good. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? They never get me.
And you know what? Like, it's for whatever. Remember when I was I'm not saying that this happened at all, but just go with me on this. Remember I was telling you guys about how Netflix gives you the thumbnail that you're most likely to to click on based on its algorithm,
Yes,
right?
Yes, you did say
Like, so I wonder if, like, I doubt that this is real, but like, I wonder if you were served that because you like Usual Suspects, and I got served the shipping one because I've been talking so much about them being shipped.
I mean, I don't know because like I said, I didn't watch it on Hulu. I mean, I watched it on FX, but maybe it is. Maybe they do. They know what you watch, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be
They're like,
kind of scary if that's true, but I mean,
yeah,
whatever. They know everything you watch. They know everything. They know what we're talking about.
25% chance that I would have seen any of 4 of the Clue endings.
Right. There's only it could have just been random, or they gave me the one that I was most likely to enjoy.
And then, well, I guess that'll be like follow up. We'll find out like how I'm sure they'll tell everybody. There'll be like an interview with like Kyle Newhart or something, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we just had they did some behind the scenes stuff, and maybe in the Midwest, everybody only got like the Rosemary's Baby one, and you know what I mean? Maybe they did that like on TV or whatever, right? Because you can't once it's on the airways, it's on the airways,
right? When it's broadcast,
but you can control things. Well, because of the way technology is today, you know what I mean?
I wonder. So I mean, I wonder because they what they do, they show it like right after they replay it immediately after. I wonder if I watched the second one, what would it have done? You know, like
that's interesting. They play
it like 10 and then 11.
Okay, so they replayed it. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
I wonder if I
probably would have been a different one. Yeah.
That's
probably
crazy.
would have been a different.
We'll have to find out someday. There'll be like a behind the scenes making of.
I'm sure it won't be long. It'll be before Christmas. We'll know how they did it or whatever.
Right?
It'll be like exclusive interview, the Clue ending to What We Do in the Shadows. You know, like everything about it.
Well, yeah. So he gets in the thing, and it is exactly the way Usual Suspects ends. Colin Robinson, but it's really funny because the guide comes running out, and she says, "Where's the beige man?" And because he was wearing like a jacket and it's just so bland. And I love it.
Like, oh, where's that way?
The beige man. But he gets into the jalopy, which pulls over, and Laszlo's driving, and he gives him a little nod, just like in Usual Suspects, and they drive away. And he says, just like that, it's all over. Which is not exactly the quote, but it's the quote that works for this, because that's what's, that's the theme of this episode, and it is all over, but it's also kind of the theme. So I was pretty happy with that and that ending. If they did serve it to me because they know I like it, then good on you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then we also have common ground on the next ending, which is Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Right. So
we both have seen that one. Although I've never seen that movie. I've never actually seen Rosemary's Baby all the way through. I've seen bits.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, much like Usual Suspects, I've seen it years ago. I've probably seen Reservoir Dogs like 100 times, but I've seen Usual Suspects like less than 10 times in the 90s. You know what I mean? So I don't really remember much of it. I'm not saying it's not a good movie. I just never it's not a go-to for me. Rosemary's impregnated by the devil, so they do that here. And Nadja walks into like a parlor. It looks kind of like a funeral parlor kind of thing.
Like everybody's
there. The Baron's there. The guide's there. Everybody's
there.
Dressed. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think even Marwa's there.
And, Guillermo, everybody's like dressed differently and nice. Just a short version is there's a baby and it's like a devil baby. And then there's another baby, which is another baby, Colin Robinson. and like it's kind of like the devil is Laszlo's devil stand-in in that. And also they go like, oh, how could this happen? How could this baby look like Colin Robinson? And Nadja and Colin kind of look at each other like, oh, I don't know. It's so weird how these things could happen.
Yeah. Laszlo was like, no, the genetics of a vampire are just, priests. And they're like, yeah, that's right. Yep. That's weird, huh?
I'm glad that one wasn't the one served to either one of us, because I feel like those other two are definitely like better, more satisfying, especially because we don't have a good connection. Neither one of us
Right.
to Rosemary's Baby.
Because I'm,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
never having seen it. Yeah.
those two were like the one that I saw and the one that you saw, I think are the more interesting of the two.
I'd have to agree. It was so cool. And like I said, everybody like is in the background. I think even Derek is in there. So, like they just show all these characters that, were on the show at one point. I think even the Gene was in it. But yeah, I mean, it was good. But yeah, we don't have a connection to that. So it wasn't.
And also, I was sort of, I mean, I know we're not on final thoughts, but just like you were talking about, like sort of cameos and stuff. Like there weren't like, it wasn't. I was kind of hoping for, but we didn't get it. Like I was kind of hoping for Jermaine and Tyga to show up at the end.
Yeah.
If they were going to do any cameos, I wanted it to be those people. Or if I was kind of expecting self-servingly the Vampire Council to make an appearance, but
Yeah.
it's okay. I'm not upset, but I had predictions about the finale, stuff I thought I'd see, and I didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad.
Would have been I'm not mad at either. So when we get back from the endings, Colin Robinson is talking about like he gives this sort of nice speech about you have your family and then you have your chosen family, and he goes on about his chosen family, how great and he misses his chosen family because they all died. And I have to spend eternity with you stinky turds.
Yeah, because it's all very sincere, and you think he's talking about them. They all died in a steamship in 1906 or something. Yeah. And then he does something which is one of my favorite things, especially after watching the first two episodes and Colin hugging me in my nightmare. But like because he was doing like when his eyes light up when he's feeding, like they don't do that at
right. No.
The recent seasons they do it, but they just don't do it a ton.
So then, like Nandor gets up to start. He says, "Well, I've always felt that something is missing, and it's an underground layer." It's just like Chekhov's underground layer here, and this is the second. The rule of threes.
Yeah, Guillermo keeps like cutting people off. Like, yeah, okay, just shut up. Like,
yeah, right. Because he thinks they're going to say something serious, and this is going to give him an ending, and it's not, and they never do. So they say. So I think the guide says, Guillermo, why don't you tell us what you've learned over the last 6 years of this?
This is so good. This is so good. This was great with the headphones as well.
Yeah, because I only noticed a lot of this. I watched it twice, but yeah, Guillermo. So he starts talking about home as either a place you're going or a place you're like leaving or whatever, or going back to, and he's getting all deep. And meanwhile, the monster walks in, and he gets up behind the bear. There's like a bear, like what do you call it?
It's like a stuffed bear. It's also he's feeling. Right. It's always been in the living room there because they show him like Laszlo a couple episodes ago was like when he woke up from sleep hypnosis to be really neat and tidy. He was like brushing the bear's tooth.
Oh, that's so he starts screwing this thing and he's like, "Roar!" But then the guy's like, "Oh, he's looking at me while he's doing it," because they're all like, "Oh yeah, he's fucking the bear." Yeah. Oh, how about that? They're not paying any attention to what Guillermo's saying.
Not just like, I think he's fucking the bear. Then, the guy is like, I don't mind that he's fucking the bear, but he seems to have locked eyes with me while he's doing it. And then Nadja goes like something like, I was a little annoyed that he was doing it, but now I'm like, find it quite erotic. And then like Laszlo's just like cheering him on.
Yeah, Laszlo thinks it's great.
The whole time, like Guillermo was telling this like inheartened speech. Yeah, like, and there's kind of a crescendo of that noise in the background, even you can't hear exactly what they're saying. And then at the end of Guillermo's speech, that everybody starts clapping and like, woo, like way to go. And you're meant to think like they were applauding Guillermo, and then Guillermo goes, "Oh, I guess they weren't paying attention to what I was saying. They were just
they were applauding the monster.
Whatever's going on with the bear back there." Right. And they're just goes, "Guillermo, monster just fucked that bear."
Yeah, I know. This monster just fucked that bear. And they were like, yeah. At one point, I think the monster even said, like, as he was talking, it's a guide lady, fuck me, or something. Like,
yeah. And he takes his dick off again and hands it to her after he fights the bear.
After he, came in the bear or whatever. I don't know. So I thought of you, just next one, because Laszlo's at the piano and he's like, all right, why don't, because I think they tell Gizmo to sing again. You're like, why don't you sing and dance or whatever? But anyway, so he starts playing We'll Meet Again by, what is that her name? Vera Miles? Go back and listen to our Doctor Strangelove episode.
That's right.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when. And they're all singing. And like Guillermo just walks away. He just can't deal with it. And then they're singing all together. And he says, everyone but the guide. And they sing.
Hey, yeah. And I don't know what that was about. Like maybe because like he's like saving her for another part coming up or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Or he just doesn't care. I don't know.
Yeah, Guillermo goes and he earlier, only because I'm calling back to earlier in the episode, but it relates to Guillermo walking away because he does it earlier in the episode too. And when he's leaving, when they tell him to do a jig, go do a dance or whatever, he's walking out of there. I think I told you like when Stacy or I like leave the house, we're like, bye bitch. Colin says that's he goes, bye bitch. Stacy was like, oh my god, he just said bye bitch to him. But they're singing We'll Meet Again. Yeah. Guillermo just kind of like, like you do after a long day. He just kind of like is going out and reflectively he sits on like the road cases because they're packing up all the stuff, and he's just kind of like sitting there contemplating and having a little bit of time. And then they're playing the nice song in the background. They're singing along, and that's it.
Well, there was one more scene. Nandor and Yemo are kind of having a moment. Nandor says he's glad that the documentary is ending. And he's like, oh, really? Why are you glad? And this is the part where you think they're building up towards maybe like,
this is a shippable moment.
It's like, because there's stuff I don't want them seeing or something. Like he kind of like, well, he's about to.
He says,
There's things I don't want them to know or something. Or there's times I don't want them here, I think he says. Yeah.
Well, he said that it's good that the cameras don't film everything that happens here because they go home. And then very flirtatiously, Guillermo's like, well, what things? Which leads you to believe that they sort of fool around or snuggle or kiss or do each other.
Right.
Like, but it's only through the flirtatious way they're both talking to each other that you would even imply that. But that's definitely what he's saying. Like, well, what are the things that they don't catch? He's kind of like, shyly like, what? And Nandor's like, well, when the lights that they use are on, they make a funny smell. And sometimes I think my hair is on fire and I don't like that. And so Guillermo's like, okay, whatever. So he went down that road for like a second.
That's why you're glad that they're ending. Yeah, he thinks his hair's on fire. So he's kind of like doing the thing where he's brushing his hair. He's about to lay down in the coffin, and Guillermo says, "Look, I just want you to know when you wake up, I won't be here." And Nandor's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I just gotta go. I gotta go do my own thing. And he's like, but we can still be friends. Or no, he doesn't say that now. He just says, yeah. And he says, well, goodbye, Guillermo. And he says, goodbye, master. He's like, you can call me Nandor. And he's like, I know I can. But you'll always be
that was really
that's like as close
that was
as you're gonna
sweet,
get.
Right?
Yeah, that was sweet.
Did you also like kind of go, oh, that's sweet?
Yeah, when he says, you can call me Nandor, which he had never, and he says, I know. But he likes calling him master. That was kind of the admission that we all knew all along.
Yeah.
That Guillermo liked being here. He liked them. He liked Nandor. That's even all the dumb shit that he had been put through. Yeah, that was at least an admit. It was always master, so that's what you're gonna get.
If you do flip and roll around, you do see like you remember like more of the day-to-day chores, which they show in the movie a lot when that girl is like Deacon's familiar. It's like there's a lot of Guillermo of dragging carcasses out of the place and everything. There was just a lot of that. He's like, there's a lot of extra stuff he's doing. It's awesome.
So yeah, he closes the casket and he blows out all the candles and everything, and he leaves. And then the crew comes in, and I can only assume, I don't know. I assume this is the real crew, right?
Yeah, I almost think that in the whole thing, because it's such a wink at you show, I think anytime they show people, I mean, they do list people in the credits as like Nate the boom operator. You know, I'm sure there's actors, but also if they need to film a scene where there's 10 crew guys, it's just the 10 crew guys that are there. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know. There's like weird union rules, you know what I mean? So like if the guy has a line that may, or whatever, you know, I don't know. But I assume, like so if they're just standing there holding a camera or holding a boom mic, it's probably the real crew.
It's the equivalent of like being an extra, right? You know what I mean? So like, why would you just have the?
If you don't have a line, then it's not a big deal. But if you have a line, then you get in the actors union, and it's a whole thing.
And I was also thinking about earlier when they were talking about like, well, he's fucking a camera guy. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. That it is kind of funny in this situation where somebody is an actor with a full camera on. That's maybe it actually is shooting, because it probably is shooting, but the idea of the shot that they're making is to have that guy in the shot. You know, they're probably rolling it because it's digital, there's no film or whatever. You know, but
Russ is right.
You know, but that's not his job. His job is to be in the shot as a camera guy.
Right. I mean, if we're watching it, then someone is on camera in that particular moment. But yeah. But it's funny because they come up with the clapboard, and the clapboard says, you know, what's the name of the director? Yana Gorskaya. You know, like all the real names are on.
And she has it upside down.
Yeah, she has to flip it around. It's a fun little moment because they're rolling the credits as they're there. So it's almost like a nod, I feel like, to them as the credits are rolling. Also, like, these are the people, you know?
No, absolutely. I
think it's great.
I think that your instincts are right on that. And they do kind of like do something they haven't done before exactly, where it's like, oh, like we're bringing this ladder in, and then they turn on certain lights that they're taking down. You know what I mean? Like there was an element of it. It was shot in a way that was very authentically real. Like, we're breaking this set down because we're actually going to be breaking this set down for real anyways.
Yeah. This is the end of the last show. This is the last scene of the last show. So yeah, we're breaking it down anyway. But anyways, yeah. So Guillermo comes back and he says, okay, guys, I just need a minute. So they're okay. Like, and they call out.
They just clear out of there.
Yeah, they're like, okay, stop working or something like that. Like, it's clearly some kind of on.
It says like hold work.
Hold.
I think they said like hold something like
or
that.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, hold the work. That's what it was.
Hold the work. Yeah. So they all just leave, and he opens the casket, and Nandor's like, Guillermo, I didn't think I'd see you again. And he says, oh, I just wanted to have an ending. And he says, look, even though I'm not going to work here, I'm not going to work for you, we can still be friends.
Yeah.
And Nandor says, friends. Yeah, friends. And he says, why don't you get in the coffin? He's like, I've never said this to you, but get in the coffin. And he's got
like, kind of hang out with me in my coffin.
Right. Guillermo's kind of like, all right, yeah. And he's got his little control box there, and he presses a button, and it kind of, the hole around it sort of like opens up, and it makes like a noise, like an engine or something. And
yeah, there's all, it's all like very like, no, they have a short little conversation about, you know, I would leave here. Like, they're like hanging out, like they're hanging out on a couch together in the coffin for a minute. And he goes, and then, Nandor like kind of like pulls off the, you know, like the not felt, but like the silky part in the middle section of his coffin. And I did look around. I went back to the first episode, same design of the coffin. Coffin stayed the same. So he pulled it off, and he's like, check. He's kind of like says something like, check this out. And Guillermo's like, what? And there's a very Batman 66, like, and Frankenstein, like a lever with some big red lights and a big red button or whatever on it. And then he's like, what happened? And it all kind of, the coffin just like in his plans. And there's all this CGI, like it's like steampunk, like, you know, like levers and gears and stuff turning around underneath it and like steam coming out and everything.
And he's like, when did you do this? He's like, I've been working on it for a while. Like, he's been working on it. How long is a while? What does that even mean?
Yeah, and notably, just in the relationship part, he didn't ask Guillermo for help. He did it all himself.
Yep. Apparently, yeah, he did it all himself. And he says, does it work? And he said, there's only one way to find out. He throws the lever.
Yeah.
And down it goes. And it goes down a long way.
Yeah, so 1,000 feet. Yeah, and then I remember one of the things on the blueprints too. It said like lights so that Gizmo can see in the lair, because vampires they can probably see pretty good at night, right? Like that's like they're special. They have like the night vision Superman thing or whatever. It's like that, and that's it.
That is how it is. Yeah, that's the real ending. I mean, I kind of like that. I mean, Nandor in the end was not. I don't know. They did it a couple times this season where Nandor wasn't a complete goof, you know, and he was kind of a regular human guy almost at the end, like saying you can call me Nandor and all this stuff. At the end, Nandor was cool, you know.
And that he genuinely wanted to have this partnership with Guillermo where they were killing humans like in a just way, and he wasn't bullshitting him. He had enough respect for Guillermo now to A, stand up for him, and B, like, we will be like co-equal, you know, partners. You're a human, I'm a vampire. Let's use my vampire skills to take out the bad people. Like, let's do it. Like, he's really determined. Even going through all of his shit when he was up at the shirt factory and everything. Like, he kind of like went through a little journey that we didn't know about. And he's like, you know, I really want to do something good. And then he wants to be doing it with Guillermo, but not in a master without him being a vampire, which we know he turned him into a vampire and turned him back, right? That's the only way that they can resolve their relationship.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be a vampire for us to be friends. Or that's because that's what they said. Yes. They said, even though he just wanted that ending, I think that that's what he said after. He says, we can be friends. And that's all that they can be. Yeah, like they can have a good friendship, even though Guillermo will probably die someday, you know, and Nandor will live on because he lives forever. I think they'll still have a good time. They'll still be friends for a while, and it'll be great. So,
yeah, Guillermo's like ultimate, like, besides the desire to be a vampire once again, but like to be just one of them and to not have Nandor like and everybody shitting on him and bossing him around all the time. He's finally at that point, which is great. You know? Like that's a way to like bring up, not take the vampires down, but bring Guillermo up to like an equal footing as best he could without being a vampire.
Right. I mean, he starts out as familiar, like the familiar who's like, will do anything because he really wants to be turned into a vampire one day. And then, like, you know, at one point he wasn't the familiar, but he was still kind of hanging out. Then he was a vampire, and then he wasn't, but he was still living in the shed, in the Jack Shack. And, like, you know, they were keeping tabs on him when he worked at Cannon Capital and all that. Like, and now here he is, and they are, you get the sense they are now equals. And it's going to be fine, you know? So that's quite an arc for Guillermo.
What an arc. Because, I mean, really, we've said it's the story of Nandor and Guillermo. It's really Guillermo's story, right? Really, it's just Guillermo.
Right. He's the one who has the arc. Everybody else is basically the same. Although, like, I don't know. if you think over it, like, you know, like I feel like at the beginning, all the characters were very much like their sort of movie counterparts in a way. I guess except not.
Yeah, it was very movie. The first couple episodes that I watched were very much movie influenced. Then it got a little bit more brighter, like as in the last couple seasons, certainly. But it was very much like, you know, and they couldn't help it. But they found their own voice definitely along the way.
That's what I think. I think the actors found found their characters, and it's great how that worked.
And the writers changed and evolved, and the directors changed, and the show itself evolved in a great way. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
But it definitely evolved, and it is very different than we were saying in the last episode. It's different than the movie. It really is. It's its own thing.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I actually think too, like Colin Robinson. I don't know if we talked about this enough, but if you think back to the way he was, the energy vampire draining type of Colin Robinson, like that was his whole shtick, but he got a lot more good lines as the show went on. It wasn't just like, I'm saying this thing because I know it's going to make you bored, you know?
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know? Like,
and certainly not that he didn't do it this season even, but like he was like almost in the house feeding off the vampires all the time. But like when he's feeding off of other people, that was better. And then when he goes over to his friend's house, he doesn't want to feed off of them because he wants to be friends.
Right.
I mean,
Jared. I mean, yeah, it's, I think he changed a lot throughout this show.
He's a funny actor.
Absolutely. They're all really funny. I mean, I'm anxious to see I know Matt Berry's very prolific and, you know, on British TV shows and movies and stuff. But I'm curious to see where everybody goes from here. So
yeah, and one thing you were talking about earlier when he was like, I'm on the message boards for IMDb, TV Insider, Den of Geek. I watched a little clip of his like post finale interview that he did for like, you know, like a real big podcast for TV Insider, and he was like, he's like, we put that in there. Like, I don't know if Mark Prosh, I don't know if he like not improvised it, but was like that is in whoever wrote it, doesn't matter. He's like, we put that in there because those are all the outlets that were with us the whole time and that always covered us and were always great to us, and we wanted to give them a shout out in the finale. And I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've read a lot of times.
It sticks out, especially to us. It's like Den of Geek. Like, we read Den of Geek when it comes across our, you know, emails or whatever, you know?
So, yeah. And I've read their reviews sometimes in preparation for this podcast to see if there's anything I might have missed or whatever. So, yeah, that was funny. That was great.
And they do say have like, it's like the True Detective, like time is a flat circle thing. It's like everything that's happened will happen before. This is not even the first documentary crew. And I thought they were saying it's not the first documentary crew, and they were going to reference the movie for some reason.
Well,
but it was like, that they've had a documentary crew covering the Staten Island vampires, and you know, maybe that's why they have all those drawings, because like for hundreds of years, maybe they've had like people like, oh, tell me what's going on with you guys, you know.
Well, at the very end though, during the credits, they do show them sort of screening a bit of the documentary. I don't know if this was on the TV version anyway. They did.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, yeah, and they are watching the documentary.
And Colin goes, are you looking for notes? Is this final cut?
Is this the final cut? And then, I mean, it's funny though. They do look a bit younger. We were all younger 6 years ago, but
they do.
Them, you're like, wow, they look a little younger. But
definitely, I noticed that too.
Colin's like, all right, I've seen enough or whatever. He just gets up and walks out. But they do show the bit of Nandor saying like, "Oh, house meeting,
house meeting."
So.
I want to talk about general hygiene in this.
General hygiene. So, I mean, that's it. That's the show, though. We're done.
We're done.
Insane.
I know.
So, it happened.
It happened.
It was. I mean, as far as I guess just to put a little button on the end of it. I mean, like there are shows, and sometimes they go through lulls, and I feel like especially myself lately, sometimes shows end, and you're like, all right, that's fine, and sometimes you're like, I don't get emotional necessarily, but like, sometimes the endings you're like, that was okay, or and even like the show goes through up and down. You're like, oh, that wasn't a great season or whatever. But this one, the show is consistent the entire time. I feel like it ended before it got, you don't want it to get too bad or anything, or you don't want it to get bad at all. Even like Seinfeld, say, like my favorite show of all time. That last season, had some stinkers. I'm just gonna, you know what I mean? It was time. They had the backwards episode and stuff like that. Like before you start getting too weird, it's good to just end it. And this show never really got to that point. They could have maybe done another one, but it's better to just go out on a high note. Yeah. They had 6 good seasons, and now it's over, and it's okay.
And that's okay.
That's all I got to say about that. So, but yeah, I'm curious to see where they all go and what's next, for some of these actors. I hope we see them soon.
Yeah, me too. I was saying just what I said last episode. I hope Harvey gets some good acting roles. Like there'll be some movie that we're excited to see, and Harvey's in it. You know what I mean? Like that. I feel like that's happening. You know what I mean? He was like almost like the breakout star. Like he's the youngest of anybody on it, and people saw how great he was in this. And then I think of it as like, not that like they make Knives Out 3 and he's in it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like like a show like that, like a movie like that. It's like a big ensemble movie, and it's funny, or it has something where he can do something a little different with his acting chops. That's what I see happening for Harvey. And the rest of them, I just think they'll just do great.
Well,
too.
If you go to his IMDb page, he's got 10 things in that upcoming like sort of tier. So I think and some of them are some of them is voice work, and some of them are regular, on air or whatever you call it, regular acting roles. So we have not seen the last of Harvey Guillen, so that's just great. Because he is,
I mean, he's great. He's really funny, and I think he's young, so it's like I hope he has a great Hollywood career beyond TV and all that. And I mean, it's a little tough to just be like final thoughts on the whole thing,
right.
But I do have to say, I want to say like cheers and many goblets of blood for Sam starting this podcast with us. So just a little shout out here at the end of the finale. That was definitely a great idea. And there's not many, kind of like what you were saying about TV shows or whatever. Like we all watch a ton of stuff, and we had 2 TV show specific podcasts. So it has to be really special out of all the stuff we watch.
Right.
Like Ghosts is great, but I'm not like starting a Ghost podcast or even any other things, like we might do like a special edition if something really was special, but we did a whole 40 plus episodes of this. Maybe we'll do some more if we want to go back, but this is the definitive end. So even if we do go back, this is still the end, and it had to be really special for us to have dedicated so much time and grow a small community of fans on Facebook and people downloading us and listening to us on Spotify and watching us on YouTube. And like, that's just kind of like a general appreciation post for Sam and for Evan, who came on as guests before. And just like, it's been really fun doing this show with you. And it's been fun podcasting you for 15 years. But like when we were like, let's do a Curb Your Enthusiasm podcast, let's do what we do in the Shadows podcasts. It's great. And both shows have now ended.
I know. They both ended this year.
It'd be really special for us to do another TV show. So And we're not certainly not saying that's not ever going to happen. I'm sure we will do something like that again. But this was a very special, unique project, and I love it. It brings what we do in the shadows brings me so much joy, from the TV show to Wellington Paranormal and all the good, all of it. I love it all.
Yeah, it's a good. That's very true. I mean, there are so many shows now, right? Literally every night we sit down for dinner and watch a show. Like, that's what my wife and I do literally every night. Like, unless I'm podcasting, we sit down for dinner. What do you want to watch? How many of them could you sit and talk about for an hour and a half or whatever, like every week? Not that many. Most of them I watch, and 10 minutes later, I've forgotten what the hell happened. So this was special, as was Curbcast. And wouldn't have want to do it with anybody except you. So glad we did it. It was great.
Thank you, Master.
Oh, friends. Yes.
I was waiting for you to say, you can call me Dursin.
You can call me Dursin. You should have said Commander. That would have been.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Commander.
You could call me Dursin. I know. That was nice. All right. Well, how do we want to do it? One more bat, or are we just gonna end it on a?
I'll just take the sample of "We'll Meet Again" from our Dr. Strangelove episode and put it. Of course, we're gonna do one more bat. Of course, we're gonna do one more bat. And I was on mute when I was saying that the I know for "You Can Call Me Dursin." I was gonna do it in Han Solo style. Oh yeah, I know. I love you. I know. You can call me Dursin. I know.
Well, we should still tell people, if you're listening, please check out our Facebook, check out leaguepodcast.com.
Of course.
VampCounsel.com, leaguepodcast.com /Vamp Counsel. All of these Vampire Council things are out there.
Yeah, and I had to do some funny stuff, boring back end stuff to make sure that all the episodes appear there, because it was only showing kind of like some recent episodes. So I fixed that. So you can find all of our episodes at vampcounsel.com, including this finale, and leave us a review. You can still send us mail at bat@vampcounsel.com and just tell us that you enjoyed the show. Tell us the final thoughts about the show, and also probably a better place to do that, you might be more inclined, is the Vampire Council League Podcast discussion Facebook group, which we set up early days when we first started doing the podcast. So we have a group and some new members and vampire names. So thanks for listening. If you're in the group and you got a vampire name, a fake Alexander Skarsgård got in there. I don't think it's really him. But either way, we'll take a fake one anytime. Yeah. We'll fake it. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. It's been a pleasure doing VampCounsel.com. We'll maybe be back for some special editions, but in the end, this is the last episode, the most important one. Not really, I guess, but like the first one, I guess, probably the most important. But this is maybe the penultimate one was the most important to us. But this is a very important episode. Thanks for listening. Honestly, I don't want to get too emotional, but it's been really fun doing this with you, Commander. And, let's hop in our little coffin together and pull the lever.
All right.
You ready for one last bat?
I think so.
Okay. I'm going to count it down.
All right. I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Bat!
Oh, classic. We'll meet again. Classic stuff.
All right.
Thank you, Clay. Thanks to you.
Thanks to you.
Turn out.
It's one of the hardest guitar pieces in the world to play.